the point is this. I'll twist this question around and put it to you like this, Pushpita. My struggle in the West was they did not understand mutual respect. What they did not understand was how can these people say we are different, we live our lives differently, but still want to live together. Again, Pew poll makes my point right, where it says Indians don't want to marry amongst each other, but they also want to live with each other. So this can only be happening when they have mutual respect for each other, and the polls show that. So have you had this struggle, Pushpita, where all they can give you is tolerance while you keep demanding mutual respect?
So I'll frame it a little differently. I think one of the issues Hindus struggle with, and I think this is a struggle everywhere, not, I think, we are all here in America because, as you said, it's a great place to be. So I'm certainly not going to cry any oppression Olympics here. I love my life here. But I think even in India, that we are, and everywhere we go, we are a very complex faith. We are an experiential faith. So everybody's experience of Hinduism is slightly different. So it's very hard to agree on what is a Hindu itself. And there is the complexity of trying to explain a very ancient indigenous faith in a world that is very linear and structured by Abrahamic paradigms. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. It's just what it is. So you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. And so you're starting with an inbuilt handicap, no matter where you are. Even in India, I think that's a problem. But I think that's sort of the issue we have to deal with. And that is why the conversations with the kids are so important. So I'm not going to say there's a grand conspiracy against us, but we it's hard to give you Hinduism in a soundbite. And that's in a world of social media where everything is about sound bites. You got to get something in 30 seconds. How are you going to explain Hinduism in 30 seconds? Is there a book I can read and become an expert on Hinduism? Doesn't exist. So that is one of our challenges of just being in the modern age and being the kind of faith we are. So I think it's something that everyone has to deal with and work towards, no matter where they live, whether that's India or Pakistan or USA or Britain or any other place. But back to the Pew research, it actually validated, just like you said, there is this big concept of melting pot, and the analogies have been made as melting pot versus patchwork quilt. And who decides that the melting pot is a better place to be? Ultimately in a melting pot, everyone is sort of giving up their identity and becoming part of some melted creation. It's a pretty violent process if you think about a melting pot. A patchwork quilt is a much more, humane way of doing things. Everyone lives with their own thing. I firmly believe that it goes back to the discussion we were having on Jati Varna. We have a lot of groups. I mean, we are full of different types of groups. And I think India historically has been peaceful because it's been home to hundreds and thousands of different groups, all slightly thinking that they are superior for some whatever reasons that may be, and slightly disdainful of other groups, but feeling that you could sort of coexist without interacting with each other too much. Now, you can have another 1 hour debate on is that better, is the melting pot better, but I firmly think that is how India has actually managed the sheer staggering diversity that lives there, because we are not all trying to become one melting pot. And different cultures and histories and countries across the centuries have tried to come up with this preferred one melting pot, and that's where all the conflict begins, because whose flavor gets to dominate the melting pot, and that's where a lot of the world's genocides and problems have come around with. So I actually celebrate the patchwork quilt as opposed to a melting pot.